Hello and welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Shout About It with me, Rachel, the Queen of the Woke, as crowned by one of my haters. I have a new goal of 1,300 subscribers, so please hit the sub button for the varied content. And believe me, it is varied on this channel. And also make sure you have the notification bells switched on so that you know when I release another video. Now, today is a Doctor Who video. I know this is a bit weird on a Monday, but I made an error, so we're getting it today. This also continues our worst related series that we have been doing. If you have been a long-time subscriber of this channel, you know that we cover the lowest rated in audience score. Just to be clear, audience score. And we talk about that and maybe why it would have been the lowest rated. Now, today's video may be actually slightly shorter than normal. We are actually, as I've said, looking at the episode Blink, which was voted by you, the subscribers. To vote on the next poll, head on over to the community page after this video. Now, Blink was actually written, of course, as you know, by former showrunner Stephen Moffat, and it was directed by Hetty McDonald, and it aired to 6.6 million people, making it the lowest rated of Series 3 of New Who. Yes, according to the Overnights, this was the worst rated in audience viewing, and it doesn't actually mean that it is the worst. You never know. I might actually agree with you. In fact, actually, in my opinion, I do agree with probably a lot of the commenters on this page. I'm just theorizing here that it's one of the best in this series. It's an absolute genius plot and brilliant characters to boot. Sally Sparrow enters West Drumlins to take photographs. She finds a message to her from the Doctor written on the wall, warning her about the Weeping Angels. Confused about the cryptic messaging, Sally decides to investigate. So she and her friend Kathy return to the house. Whilst there, Sally discovers that the angel statues have moved. The doorbell rings and Sally is met by a man named Malcolm, claiming to be the grandson of her friend Kathy. Sally, of course, naturally thinks this is a joke and goes to look for Kathy, only to discover she has been taken by the Weeping Angels. Sally then has a puzzle to unravel, and she has to figure out how to get the Doctor and Martha out of 1969 to prevent all the timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, that stupid saying, going to absolute bedlam. Now, Blink, in my opinion, is one of Stephen Moffat's best pieces of work in Doctor Who. At this point, we associated him with the weird, the dark, and the quite scary episodes of the show. One of the things that I find about New Who is that the pacing within like the 45 minutes can be massively rushed. There are very few episodes that I find actually work within the limited time frame that they have. Now, Moffat actually made Blink work within that time frame, which I imagine couldn't have actually been a very easy thing to do. I will honestly say that I don't think Blink needed any more time than we actually got with it. Moffat manages to take this morality story and put its message across without much effort at all. Yes, that does mean fleeting scenes with the grandson played by Richard Cant, who is an absolute spit of his father, Brian. Young Billy played by Michael Obiora, sorry if I got that wrong, Kathy played by Lucy Gaskell, and Old Billy played by Louis Mahoney. But their talent, and between the four of them, gave you the sense of that time and that life is short and easily taken away from you and others around you. You would think that their limited screen time would make this actually feel rushed, but it truly doesn't. And also, out of all of the episodes that we have now in Doctor Who, all of the stories in New Who, I would be more precise, I actually think this one would make a great film. So, Blink is the episode that plays host to the introduction of the Weeping Angels, who, as the Doctors put it, the only psychopaths to kill you nicely. The Weeping Angels are much like the Autons for me, I guess you could say. They put a fear of inanimate objects being able to come to life in someone all over again. It's the idea of you think that you have been, seeing something move out of the corner of your eye, but then you think that you may have actually imagined it. I don't know if you've ever had that sort of situation. I have. It has happened to me. Now, Blink would be the exact type of story that would terrify a child in particular, or a teenager. It's just about the level of a child's intelligence, or maybe even just above it. And it gives them something to think about and to try and solve. And at the same time, it doesn't make a song or dance or patronize them in any way, shape, or form. The downside to the Weeping Angels is that whilst the story introduces them superbly, they later become a bit ludicrous. That sounds really, really harsh because they are actually a brilliant alien within the actual Doctor Who franchise. The Weeping Angels, much like the Autons, are the type of alien that you really can't overuse because they will actually lose their fear factor. You do see that much later in Moffat's writing. They didn't get used sparingly in the end when he took over as showrunner. There are some aliens, like, I don't know, the Cybermen, possibly the Daleks, that make sense to come back quite a fair bit. But even when you need a break from them, it doesn't matter if they do return. I have a downer for Blink. Well, actually, I have two. The second one is not as big of an issue. The first one, though, about the joke about Larry being naked, I call it out in Current Who, so I will do it here as well. Is that appropriate for Doctor Who? Children watch this show, all right? Okay, really young children watch this show, and is it appropriate? I don't really think so. So I guess it's up to the parents to actually use their discretion and say whether or not they think a child should be watching that show, their child, I should say. But at the same time, I still don't think it's appropriate. There's also a small plot hole in a plot that's actually tied together pretty well. Old Billy tells Sally that the doctor told him he would have until the rain stops and then he would die. How would the doctor know that? I mean, I'm guessing I'm just probably about to answer my own question here. Does Sally take the initiative and put that information into the file that she hands over to the doctor in the end? I will throw this out to you. Do you think that Sally Sparrow would have made a good companion? I actually think that she would have been, even though I'm pleased at the same time that she never was. She has a good wit about her and she's pretty intelligent. Carey Mulligan gives a brilliant performance as Sally in this. It's also a big weight on her shoulders to carry such an episode like this one. It's a Dr. Light story where the main character of the show is barely in it, which is, of course, nothing new to the show. They've done it ever since Classic because actors have to take time off, actors have other engagements. It's the way that it goes. It's the ebb and the flow. David Tennant used to be more up there on my list of doctors as well, now that I'm talking about the doctor. But recently, my opinion has actually changed. He does have a certain zany energy with his doctor that sometimes takes away from the depth of the character. He is actually much better in this episode. It's one of those things where you slow it down and therefore it becomes more easy to watch and it's more approachable. I suppose it is easier for an actor to pull it back rather than having to step up their performance game. One of the things that directors have always done with me is focused on pulling my energy back as well, because it's easier to do that. And I am of the opinion that you come in, you attack it, you go even to the point of OTT, and then you bring it back and you go from there. It's something that I would have loved him to have been more consistent with his energy in Doctor Who. Now, I'm just talking, of course, about Doctor number 10, his first Doctor, and not the current character assassination that we have had recently with the show where he got completely emasculated and all of that. That was absolutely ridiculous. Now, speaking of the recent show, I still haven't made a full decision on Gatwa because the writing is absolutely atrocious. And it means that I can't actually evaluate him in the way that I want to. And that is fair. You guys know I'm an actress. I don't say an actor's bad because I know what it's like to be up there and doing it. However, the actor playing young Billy would have been a great doctor. He is fun and smart and actually has something that's more reminiscent with his facial expressions. There seems to be a certain type of wiseness behind it. Now, of course, I'm not here to talk about Gatwa at the moment or anything like that. That can wait until we get to the Christmas special in a few weeks' time. And I can't believe it's almost the end of the year already. That is so surprising. Now, Billy holds the biggest plot device in the show. He doesn't stay a policeman. He gets into publishing, which makes for a clever little plot twist and what actually ties it all together. Would you have actually guessed that would have been the answer to getting the TARDIS back to the Doctor? I wouldn't have. Today's stories have a degree of predictability surrounding them. Blink isn't what I would consider in any way, shape, or form to be a predictable story. The fact that the Weeping Angels never look at each other because they would become quantum locked. Now, I didn't figure that out. And I didn't figure that out being the answer to saving the Doctor, Martha, Sally, and Larry. Gosh, that's a bit of a mouthful. Now, I just want to talk about also the performers of the Weeping Angels before I finish this video. Now, I know that they wouldn't have been there the entire time, and they have masks and the whatnot. The show would have made use of angel statue props as well. Very much so, because it's very difficult to do what they have been doing. I've been in shows where you have to freeze. These women playing these parts would have had some type of performance background, be it whether these women were used in Blink or in much later episodes featuring the angels. These characters with the masks and movements instill a sense of fear on people. However, the amount of stillness these actresses would have had to have done when the angels moved would have been a massive challenge. What special effects could have made it so that they were able to look frozen? The practicality of making sure they actually are able to do it themselves saves time, it saves money, and it is a much better effect. Just a little story here, I once made a mistake where I froze my arm in the air in the middle of a rehearsal for a scene that was massively long. It was close to 10 minutes, and I couldn't move because I had done it. And the director loved it so much, he decided to keep it as part of the show, and I had to do that in every performance after that, and I will never make that mistake again. So those women doing those Weeping Angels, absolutely fantastic job. And Blink does ensure to install the fear onto people in the most effective way. Let me know what you think. Chat about it, don't shout about it. Like and subscribe. See you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Thank you very much for watching.